Super Rugby round number 14. Just the two games on the Friday. Hurricanes up against the Jaguares, Rebels up against the Bulls. Interesting couple of games. All these teams are currently sitting in playoff spots. None of them are the top of their conference. So they're kind of at that. Well, the Hurricanes are still fairly comfortable, but the other three at that point where a win could see them go top and a loss could see them drop out if other results don't go their way. So certainly a fair bit to play for in these two games. The first one, the Hurricanes hosting the Jaguares. The big story with this one, I suppose, is the fact that Beauden Barrett is being arrested. So the Jaguares guys, I guess, should take a bit of confidence from that fact. They were going to have to rest him sometime, so they've chosen to do it against the Jaguares. Although for the most part it's a pretty stable team, so I wouldn't expect the Hurricanes to suddenly drop in performance levels. Hurricanes, in terms of chasing down the Crusaders, have still got a fair bit of work to do. You can't see the Crusaders dropping many points, but the Hurricanes will need to finish as high as they can. At worst, they'll want to do what they did last year and finish in that top non-conference spot, so fourth spot. And a win here would certainly do them good. The Jaguares, again, going top of the South African Conference is something that they would definitely like to do. Imagine having to go to Argentina to play a quarterfinal. That would be a bit of a trip. So it's an interesting one because last week they really shuffled their team. They played a lot of their secondary guys and went close against the Highlanders. No disrespect to the Highlanders, but they do seem a slightly easier prospect than the Hurricanes based on current form. I mean, just look at the table. So you kind of wonder whether the Jaguares might have played their stronger team last week and then rotated for this week, because the Hurricanes away is a pretty tough prospect. Not that going to Dunedin is not, because not many teams come away from wins with wins there either. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see if it pays off. They still managed to get close last week, so if they can do the same here, I'm sure they will be pretty chuffed. In terms of the Hurricanes lineup, so it's James Marshall stepping in for Beauden Barrett, so very big shoes to fill. Interestingly, Fletcher Smith is only on the bench for that one. I thought he might have got a start, but it's Marshall. Otherwise, the team is fairly stable. Lamape and Proctor in the midfield. Geordie Barrett still at fullback, so you've definitely got your Barrett there. Ben Lamb and Wes Husson are on the wings, and Lamb and Husson have been very good, especially Lamb in the more recent weeks. Scrum had a bit of a hard time last week against the Blues, but Tumunga Allen still continues on alongside Toby Smith and Safa Amor. But the Jaguares scrum is not that renowned this season, so we'll see if they're able to get a bit of an edge there. Blackwell and Isaiah Walker-Leawere are in the midfield in the locks. It'd be nice to see them in the midfield, though. They're pretty intimidating. Via Fafita, Duplessis, Karifi, and Adi Savia are the back row. Fafita and Savia especially were immense last week against the Blues and holding them out. Perinara continues as captain. So yeah, Beauden's rested. Tia is out. He was on the bench last week. He's got a hamstring strain. And Eves has come in for Armstrong, who's also not 100%. For the Jaguares, you look at some of these big names they've brought back. A lot of Pumas there. Crevi is back at number 2. Petty and Lavanini, that familiar locking duo, are back. Matera is back. So Leguizamon actually still in the starting lineup, but he's have to shift out to 7. Kubeli starts at 9, and he's been in good form. Interestingly, though, they haven't brought back Miotti at number 10. It is still Bonija. So, I mean, Miotti has been kind of one of their key guys on their good run they had, but he's still on the bench for this one. Mojano and Cancellieri, very good wingers. Bofelli's at the fullback. De La Fuente and Moroni in the midfield. So, it's a pretty tough looking Jaguares team, but that being said, the bookies are still saying Hurricanes by 12. Given the form they've been in the season and the fact that the only 2 games they've lost in that 9-1-2 record you see on the board, those 2 losses are still only to the Crusaders. The only team that's been able to beat them would indicate that they're a pretty tough team to beat. So, yeah, it's a long ask for the Jaguares, but they did well last week with a rotated team. They've brought back their stronger guys this week. Beauden's being rested. If there's a chance, perhaps that is it. I'm sure if they could get a losing bonus point, that would still... It wouldn't be satisfactory. Well, I guess it would be satisfactory. It wouldn't be happy, but it'd be at least a bit of a consolation anyway. The next one, Rebels and Bulls. Like the Jaguares, they have a 6-win and 5-loss record. Their conferences are still very tight. The Brumbies are looking good as well in Australia. The Sharks had a pretty decent tour with a win in Australia, a draw in Christchurch, and a bonus point loss to the Chiefs. So better than probably a lot of us expected. But if the Sharks have to go play at home, they'll probably lose based on their current form. But anyway, the Bulls have still got a bit of work to do after looking really strong early on in South Africa. They are playing catch-up a little bit now, and that performance against the Crusaders was really, really disheartening. So they do need to bounce back. The Rebels have had trouble with South African teams this year. The Rebels are really good against the Aussie teams, and they've had mixed success against the New Zealand teams, but South African teams, they struggle. So this one has got a lot going for it. In terms of the lineups, Luke Jones and Nasarani are out for the Rebels, so that's kind of bad news as they're been in good form this season. So you got Hardwick in at 7, Leota at 8. Guinea continues alongside Quay Cooper at 9 and 10. There was a bit of doubt as to whether Cooper would play, but he has been declared fit. Matt Tamua, who's just come back from Leicester Tigers, is named on the bench, so we'll see how fit or tired he is after a long premiership campaign over in England. Front row is pretty stable. Ainsley Rangi and Faulkner front row. Haylett Petty and Phillip, that's Ross Haylett Petty, in the second row. Dane Haylett Petty continues as captain from fullback. Maddox and Korobidi on the wings. Meeks and Hodge make up a pretty useful midfield. So, yeah, it's a pretty good-looking Rebels lineup. Bulls have got a few changes. Warwick Halant is back. He's been ill for a little bit, but he's, I think it was bronchitis or something. He is fit, so that is a massive addition to have him back. Pollard, who's said he's going overseas at the end of the year, which is sad news for us who like watching Super Rugby. He still captains from 10. Andre Warner is inside him at 9. Some strong looking forwards. You got Sneyman, Jenkins in the second row, Inyakani, Brits, and Gaboka in the front row. Gaboka's been especially impressive this year. A few changes though. Hunter Liebenberg is back at 7. Paul Schoeman is in at 6. Vermeulen continues on at 8. Undol and Kotza in the midfield. How Kotza goes up against Reece Hodge will be an interesting one to watch because Kotza, for the most part, plays wing, but he does dabble in the midfield as well. Hendricks and Speckman on the wings as well. So Speckman running up against Maddox could be an interesting one to watch. Likewise, Korobidi up against Hendricks. So yeah, we'll see how this game goes. The bookies have got the Rebels by 7, so fairly comfortable, but not super comfortable. That would kind of seem right, I guess. But how well the Bulls tour could be crucial for their season. So yeah, of those 3 teams who are on 6-0 and 5, the Jaguares, the Rebels, and the Bulls, they really all need wins. If they are going to get losses, they do need to make it close to at least keep that log points thing ticking over. The Hurricanes realistically could drop a game and still be all good, but at home, they definitely don't want to do that. So yeah. How do you guys think these games are going to go? Are you backing either of the away teams to get victories as an upset? Because the bookies are definitely not backing them. Yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.